Welcome back to Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling. I'm Dear Darling, and shall we see what's going on a lovely island of Fawnhollow today? So I forgot what the intro was for a second, man. It's amusing. I say one syllable just slightly wrong, and my brain just goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop! This is all wrong." Anyway. So I suppose we're continuing the saga of talking about the things I did on the weekend. Now we're very much, I suppose, stretching it much more thinly than before, but you probably tell from the title, or presumably what I'm titling, because I don't think I've titled anything like this before. But anyway, good evening everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 8:13 PM on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. We were just staying up campsite, but yeah. So we talked about like the main activity sort of things that we did on the weekend, but then that we had some spare time in between, the quiz and the dinner meal. We just basically went to market and we sort of browsed around and did some shopping. Now, interestingly, I am someone who loves going around shops and looking at things and stuff, but ironically, I don't really buy things. It's a weird sort of, not juxtaposition, but not conflict either. I think that's probably a bit too strong a word for it, but a weird sort of the dichotomy I suppose I have, where it's you want to be like, hey, darling, do you want to go shopping? Let's go look at clothes and that sort of thing, or let's go look at XYZ. I'll be like, absolutely. I don't know why. It's vicarious fun in that regard. But you might be like, hey, do you want to buy it? Like, what did you like after I go out shopping with you? You'd be like, hey, what did you buy? I'd be like, oh, I bought nothing, or something like that. I just tend to not really buy things. Well. Ever for myself, and that is not to say I don't buy things for myself, but certainly nowadays is much more common. But especially when I'm like a teenager or something, I don't think I bought myself anything apart from like a computer and games here and there. But normally that would be things like I wait around for like Christmas or birthdays or equivalent holidays for presents and stuff like that. But yeah, I think partly I am sort of spurned on, I suppose, when I'm with other people. Because other people, they're much more normal and will be like, hey, I like this thing, I'm going to buy this thing. And, that kind of I suppose, in some ways, sometimes spurns me to buy stuff as well. Sometimes it doesn't, I'm going to be perfectly honest as well. But a lot of the times, yeah, I guess in my brain, subconsciously, it's sort of like, oh, if someone else is buying something, I'm like, okay, why don't I buy something as well? Doesn't necessarily mean I'll get that much use out of it or whatever, but anyway, so long and short of it is we went to a marketplace. It's quite, a reasonably famous market in London. I haven't been there for ages, to be honest, and honestly it's a bit of a tourist trap, to be perfectly honest, but and especially with the way that London prices are going, it's kind of expensive, but also at the same time it's a fun experience because you're friends, and that's kind of like the tax. It's a friend tax you pay. I could we'll get on to what I bought in a second. I mean, you can tell from the title. We'll get on to the candles, I suppose, in a second, or candle in a second. And yeah, I definitely probably could have bought it online. It would probably been far cheaper or something. Yeah, but it's a friend tax to buy it with friends in person, to have that opportunity, I suppose, to be like sampling wares together. Anyway, so we were basically just mainly sort of meandering and looking about and looking at cool stuff here and there, but there were two notable places we stopped at within the market. One of them being a tea stall, where the lady had a selection of, I don't remember, 20 different teas or something laid out. Everything from Earl Grey to some really crazy ones. There was some very berry mixture, or I can't remember what it was called. And, we stopped at it, one of my friends, she really likes tea and that sort of thing. And, she was like, oh, the woman was like, oh, you can, smell them, give them, well, she didn't say, give them a whiff. That's, a really weird way to phrase it, I think, as a sort of, a way to market it. But basically, that's what she said. It was smell them, and you can see what you like. And then we basically stood there for, a few minutes, picking up each one and then, smelling them and being like, oh, this smells good. It's whoa, this one's strong. It's this one's so fruity. And we're, passing them around to each other and that sort of thing. Honestly, it was just a really fun time doing that, to be honest. You might be like, which one did you like the best? I think the one I liked best, it was not, I can't remember what it was called. It started with T or something like that, but ironic because they're a T, I suppose. To be fair, I didn't smell all of them. It's a thing where, I suppose a logical part of my brain is okay, if I want to smell all of them, what I should do is I should start at one end and smell each one in turn as I go down the line. But also, that seems like a really insane thing to do. Like, despite the fact that, yes, of course, the logical part of my brain is like, okay, to maximize, efficiency, let's just smell each of them once, like, from start to finish, and then you can decide what your favorite is from there. But I can't imagine, like, if I was running a store, like, the tea store or something, when, like, a customer came up and was, like, very robotically picking up each one, like, in turn, I'd just be like, this is crazy. Like, it makes, like, logical sense, but it doesn't feel right, So I did the more normal thing of just picking, like, a random one up which had a cool name or, like, had an interesting description and smelling it and being like, oh, that smells interesting, and then putting it down and then, promptly, I suppose, forgetting what it smelled like, as I do the same for another one over and over and over again. But yeah, I mean, I didn't buy any tea from that. I don't really drink tea much anymore. I do like tea, certainly. You might be like, what sort of teas do you like best? I'm not, like, much of a tea aficionado, so I don't really know. I mean, I'm like, I would say green tea is probably my favorite tea, but, I generally like, Chinese teas, I suppose, or Asian teas, and, in general, not that I don't like a black tea, I suppose, like the more Western tea or anything like that, but I do enjoy them. But I don't really drink tea all that much anymore. Not really much reason for it, I suppose, but but anyway, yeah, my friend, she picked out 3 of them that she liked, and I think they've had them and they were like, oh, they're both really very good. So yeah, what more can I say except for it ended up being like, even if I don't remember how expensive it was, to be perfectly honest, it probably was like kind of expensive considering London prices and tourist trap location, but it was still like a fun time, I'm sure like every time they drink that tea, maybe now they're like associated with that memory, be like, oh yeah, that's the time when we did to go like buy some teas and that sort of thing. At least that's my thinking, I suppose. I don't know. Maybe that's me substituting sentimentality in place of flavour or sense or that sort of thing. I forgot where I was going with this. Anyway, yeah, so we sampled some tea and that sort of thing. We looked around, we looked at some other things. We saw some like cute necklaces, accessories, like bags. We went into like a crystal-esque sort of shop and that sort of thing. Now, I'm not like a mystical person. I don't believe like... I suppose my worldview operates on, much more scientific and logical things, but not to say that I don't like the idea of a more mystical at the same time. I could still find it like a interesting thing to purvey, shall we say. I made some very cool like sort of tarot card decks and that sort of thing. It was interesting because it was like a leather bag store. I mean, you like go in further and then it was like the mystical stuff, I think. What other sort of like things did we look at? I don't remember, but then like at one point we went up to like a stall and basically like a store which just sold a load of candles. Like there was no one there initially. We walked up and it was just like a load of candles and we're like, oh, let's try sniffing them, that sort of thing. And eventually a guy came around and was like, yeah, Scoos, sniff away and that sort of thing. And then he brought out like which I didn't know, but like a jar of coffee beans, which you're meant to sort of like use to reset your smelling palette, I suppose, to like, if you smell a scent, I mean, you're like, oh, now all these scents are like stuck in my nose, you smell like the raw coffee beans or something like that, I guess resets your nose palette. I don't really know. There was a lot of candles there, my ad. They were like, I mean, I can tell you the brand, I suppose. It says on the top, Best Kept Secrets. But there were a huge amount there, and there was actually quite a lot of like, it's strange, because I feel like if you did not know my opinion on candles, and you asked, you thought, hey, do you think Dear Darling likes candles? I think, actually, I'm not sure necessarily, but I feel like people would probably be like, yeah, that seems like something Dear Darling would like. I will say that I've like the only ever times okay, not the only times, very, very rarely have I actually ever bought a candle, to be perfectly honest. The majority of times I bought candles are for gifts or that sort of thing. But yeah, like, I mean, I like the concept of candles, I suppose. I just like, I don't know why I've like never really bought them, I suppose. I've never really considered it, to be honest, because like if I sit down and think, do I like the concept of a candle? Yeah, I like. I don't know. I guess there's something warm and fuzzy about like candlelight in that sort of sense, and and I'm not at all opposed to the common sense, I suppose, that you can find in candles and that sort of thing. But I'm like very rarely like bought a candle for myself that I can think about. As I say, most of them have been gifts, usually for my mother or something like that. bought a candle and it's like, you know, light it up, etc., etc. But yeah, I like the concept of candles. There's just, again, there's a lot of things I like the concept of, and you know, I sit down and think about it, and I'm like, I don't know why I don't engage with it more often. And honestly, I don't have an answer for you. There is no justification. I guess the justification is not really justification, but it's more like the explanation is like, I guess it's just because I don't buy things for myself. Anyway, so we smelled like a lot of them. Normally I tend to like more floral scents, to be perfectly honest. I do know that I also like material scents as well, which are quite common for candles and that sort of thing. I don't usually care too much for a fruity scent, which is strange because I do like fruit as like a flavour and that sort of thing, but I guess I do kind of like them all. But if I had to rank them, it would be like floral, like then material, then maybe then fruity, then maybe like woody sort of smells. I don't know what categories of smells there necessarily are. There might be more, but those are really the ones I can think of. So I was like taking my time smelling them, all that sort of thing, and then I picked up one of them and I smelt it and I was like, whoa, I really like this scent. Like I don't know, it's like I got not a dopamine rush, but like I smelt it and I was like, my brain was like, yes, this is a great smell, like this is fantastic, I could smell this all day long. I can tell you what it is. It's called True Love, which is, of course, so romantic. And it doesn't really tell you what's in it. It says there's tenderness, love, and affection in it. From discussion with a friend, we're pretty sure it's like pineapple and like strawberries or something like that. It's a very fruity smell. Which again, if I saw it on a list, if you saw like strawberry and pineapple, I suppose as a candle flavor, it would probably not be the one I would pick up. But like I smelt it and I was like, I don't know, something about it is like, this is. My brain is like, this is amazing. It's like not my favorite smell, but like I don't know, the way it's executed in this candle, I'm just like, I really like the smell. I'm smelling it now. Like I've not lit it or anything. My friend they lit their candles. They bought and apparently like the smell does actually permeate throughout the entire room. I don't know if I want it to permeate throughout the entire room. To be perfectly honest, I don't want to like not smell it eventually. I suppose like get used to it, but that's kind of like what happens with candles, right? So I'm basically just sort of keeping it on my desk as a sort of like a smelling salt, I guess, like a pot of like good smells. And it's like, I mean, it's not even like visually it's okay. Like it's got like a sort of creamy orange, pale yellow candle base with a lot of glitter in. And then it's just got like a red sort of, I guess like paraffin wax heart on the top, just a single one. So it wasn't like the craziest, prettiest one, candle there or anything. I guess it's thematic or that sort of thing. I don't know. I just picked up and smelt it, and I was like, yes, this scent. And initially, I wasn't going to buy it or anything. To be perfectly honest, I was just like, oh, you know, I'll just keep that scent, like, lock it away in my memory, as if that's like a good enough thing to do. And then it was like my friend they were buying one, and I was like, oh, it's actually like 2, and you can like, it was like 2 for. I can't remember. 2 for. If you bought 2, it would be like £11 each or something instead of £13 each. And I was like, okay, you know what? It's a good opportunity. Let's buy one, basically. Well, actually, honestly, I was just like, I wonder if I should buy one. And then my friend was like, yeah, I mean, you really like that one. Why not buy it? And I was like, you know, that's a good point. That's exactly the same sort of logic I would use on someone else if they were just like, hey, I like this, but I'm not sure if I should buy it. And I'd be like, well, you liked it, so buy it. So I was like, I can't fault that. So I bought it as well. I can't remember one they bought, like off the top of my head. I just remember it was like kind of blue. And I remember smelling it and I was being like, oh yeah, that's quite a nice one. Yeah, there's a lot of nice ones, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, you might be like, am I ever going to light this candle? I don't really know, to be perfectly honest. I kind of like it just as a sort of smelling salt, to be perfectly honest. You might be like, maybe you should get, not incense. What's, what was it like the dried, like, flower things that you see in like bathrooms and stuff to smell nice, like potpourri? Is that right? Potpourri is just a collection of various things. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, and you might be like, maybe you should get one of those. Maybe. I haven't really thought about it all too much. You know, it was very much sort of like a whim, a purchase on a whim, if anything. But yeah, certainly I don't regret buying it or anything. I mean, it'd be difficult to regret it. It's only been like a date or something. I think it would be fun to get into like candle making that something. I mean, a lot of these sort of like artsy crafty things feel like they would be fun, to be perfectly honest. Scents is one like I never really thought about before. Like my friend was, they were telling me like about like custom made perfumes you can make them out something. I was like, I mean, I do like perfume. I have like a quite a large collection of perfumes down there. Amusingly, I've not bought any of them. They've all been like given to me. Yeah, I mean, I like perfume. I like a lot of different scents, and especially I like floral scents and that sort of thing. So I was like, I've never actually considered like making my own perfume before, or that sort of thing. And I was like, that seems like something maybe I'd like doing. I don't know. And just to round up as like final 5 minutes here, I suppose, of a conversation. I think my friend was like buying. I can't remember. I don't know if it was actually like a candle they were making or like a perfume thing, but of like cherry and rum. And the conversation came up of basically being like, if you were like a candle, like what would be a scent which would like properly represent you? And I thought about it like a little bit. The one I said initially, I pitched would be, what was it? Honey, rose, milk tea. Honey, rose, and milk tea. That sort of thing, which I think seems reasonable. Honey, I feel like the more I think about it, I feel like that seems like a very fitting sort of like scent to me. Like it's sweet, but it's not like it's not like a sickly sweet. Well, I mean, I guess if you eat like tons of honey, it is, but maybe like honeycomb is maybe what I'm thinking of more or less. But it's like, it feels like a smooth sweetness, I suppose. A much more mellow sweetness. Obviously, the scent I need to have cannot be like a sharp one or anything like that. It has to be quite a soft, mellow one, I think. I said rose, and I was just like, I actually can't think of like a better flower scent at the moment, but like I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't put a floral scent in there, because I feel like that's probably like the most representative for me. I don't know if rose is necessarily the best fit, but I genuinely couldn't think of a better one. I was trying to think of other one, and like the only flowers I could think of were like what they actually smelled like. I was like lavender. I was like, lavender is such a sharp smell. There's no way that's me. And I was like honeysuckle. And I was like, that's like such strong evocations of summer, which I don't think is a very sort of me thing. If anything, I guess I'd want one of like winter or something. That feels like a more of a me thing, but I don't know. And when I said milk tea, because I was not sure. I was like, I feel like milk makes sense as like Vladimir, as a scent for me. But I was just like, I feel like milk by itself is not. It feels like a weird scent to put by itself. But like milk tea, I feel like feels more reasonable. I do like tea, I suppose, and that feels kind of right. But I'm not like fully convinced by it. I was also going to say, like, silk, I think, would be a pretty decent one for me. Like, I didn't think of it at the time, but, like, think about it afterwards. I like material scents probably make a lot of sense. So things like, you know, maybe not like freshly laundered linen, but, you know, like silk satin, that sort of thing. I can see working pretty well. So maybe if I'd like to amend my answer, it would be like honey, rose, silk, or something like that. Milk, honey, rose, silk, which is... Well, I mean, all four of them together, I think, sounds like a really weird combination. But no, I mean, rose isn't too bad. Like, the thing in my mind is, like, you know, rose is not, like, an overwhelmingly strong scent, I think, but it does have, like, a distinct smell. I wouldn't put it, like, as necessarily a mild scent for, like, a flower thing. But in my mind, I pictured it as like the main thing being like the honey, and then you get like a bit of a sort of silk and milky like scent, and then like you get tinges of rose, like I suppose in the back. If anything, a rose is more of like an aesthetic choice, so you can put like red wax, I suppose, on like the cream, or like white coloured candle with like this sort of like orange swirl in it, and then that's like we get this sort of like rose thing from. It's kind of more for aesthetics than necessarily the smell itself. So like a mild tinge of rose. But I was like, but how do you sell this candle? Like milk, honey, silk, rose. Like that's such like a weird combination, isn't it? Honey, milks, rose silk, honey milk. I don't know. I mean, obviously, probably if you were to market it as candle, you would not say, oh, it's milk, honey, rose, and silk. You would probably give it like a name, something like I don't know, like romantic getaway or something like that, and it'll be like, ooh, what does that smell like? I mean, that doesn't really like tie in honey and milk, I guess, doesn't really fit in. That's kind of like rose and silk. But I don't know, it'd be something like that. I guess you would just call it a Dear Darling, right? That's kind of like the obvious choice of a candle name. Anyway, I don't know. So I've got this true love of like smells. Whenever I'm like, oh, I need a good smell to permeate through my nose right now. True love, right there, sitting on my desk. Who knew you could capture it in a candle so well? It's cruelty free and vegan friendly. Didn't know that. 240 grams. These apparently burn for 60 hours, which is a pretty decent chance. Decent length for a candle, to be honest. I remember I was talking to someone once about like these like wax-free candles. I can't remember what they're called, but like you basically like melt wax, I suppose, in a bowl over top of them, meant to be more like less of a fire hazard and that sort of thing. Those seem like a cool thing as well. To be perfectly honest, I don't know. Maybe this is my time. Maybe I'll start getting into candles, or maybe I won't. Who knows? But every great step, I suppose, starts with one. So, on that note, I'm going to round this episode off here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been dear darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. Socials, Discord down below. Hope we see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.